What's good, everyone, and welcome to the Playconomics podcast, where we break down the business behind your favorite and our favorite video games and provide you with just a little tiny bit and then a lot of financial context for industry trends. I'm one of your hosts, Matt Mascari, and joining with me today, as always, is Bobby. And what we're going to do, I'm not even going to ask Bobby about it today because we were on a tight 30-minute window for this episode. So if it's more than 30 minutes, know that me and Bobby both got in trouble. But if you're hearing this episode through your lovely speakers, I remind you to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a single second of Playconomics action, because it gets better and better every single week. And this episode this week is a second time recorded, part 2 to our original video, linked here, of what was the best way to experience video games? Is it console, mobile, or PC? We answered that question. Check that video out. This is part 2, which is what is the best console to play on? And what is the best iteration of each of those consoles? The Nintendo, the Sony, the Xbox. What is the best that each of them has to offer and why? Then at the end, what console should you buy in 2024? Bobby, kick us off. We're starting, I think we agree.
Let's go in the same order we went last time. Now that we've kind of treaded this ground already, I think we can move pretty swiftly through this first terrible one. It's just terrible and no one likes it and it's bad.
It's not. We both fundamentally agree that the Xbox 360 is by far the best Xbox console.
So it's like Xbox 360, a pile of dog poop with a disk drive, Xbox Series S, X, Xbox One. Xbox One is the worst.
Everyone agrees that Xbox One is unanimously the worst, but I do agree with you. The 360 is by far the best, and I think the reason that it was the best is twofold. One, it completely captured multiplayer, specifically online multiplayer. It was the king. You wanted to play video games with your friends. They didn't have to come over. All they needed was the same game as you and an Xbox 360.
And the Wi-Fi antenna adapter, if you were like me as a kid and your router was far away.
Yeah, but I think they eventually patched, when they came out with the second iteration of the 360, I think they fixed that.
They did add Wi-Fi. They did add a basic component to their console, yeah.
Still better than what PlayStation was putting out with their online service at the time, because they just didn't have one.
And then when they did, it did get hacked and went down
for 6 months.
For an extended period of time. So
the second piece that made the Xbox 360 the best system of that period of video games and the best Xbox system is that it also came in at the best price point of that generation. It was tied. It was tied for the Nintendo console at $399. I think at the Wii was $299, but very different system. But it came in at a $399 price point, which was much, much, much lower than the $599 that we would eventually get from Sony for the PS3, which is completely egregiously priced and wild that they would even consider it.
It was a good value.
Who would say that?
Not me.
Yeah. Listen,
you're gonna be super sick very soon when I tell you my number one PlayStation console.
I know what it is.
No,
we did this. You didn't change it. But regardless, okay. we're back to the 360. The online multiplayer aspect, the fact that it was out a full year before the PS3. It got access to Call of Duty before anybody else. So if you wanted to play the newest Call of Duty, you had to get an Xbox for a time period.
Yeah, it launched with 3, I believe. And that was before COD multiplayer kind of was what it was. It launched with 3, and then I've told the story before, but so I'll just keep it brief. That, like, I remember seeing the poster for Modern Warfare and just being like, you know when you see something and you know it's going to be good?
Yep.
I had this experience a couple times in my life where, you know when Daniel Day-Lewis played Abraham Lincoln? I know this is a very odd parable.
I love that this is the example that you picked.
Before they even showed a trailer, like he was out at like a diner or something, and somebody snapped like a picture of him
looking like Lincoln,
and that got leaked, and I saw that and immediately punted. I was like, oh, he's gonna win an Oscar. Like when you see something and it is so crystal clear that it is quality, and that
like when you saw Concord and we're instantly like, game of the year, baby.
Listen, Astrobot is now my revised game of the year. That's neither here nor there. Astrobot or Lord and Savior will come down. We'll get to that.
Not to derail this, but did you see the Astrobot where it's like a 1-for-1 of all of the games they ripped off on each of the levels?
It's a love letter to Sony. It's amazing.
Except for most of them are Mario games.
Now, here's the thing where you're wrong. Because Xbox, which is what we're talking about here.
Yes. Yeah.
360 had a lot going for it. As you said, the year ahead on the market, the price point. I think the online component was kind of icing, and I think at first the cake was they actually had a really strong first-party offering. And even if it wasn't first-party, you had a really good out-of-the-gate, lineup. 12 to 18-month lineup, right? Like you got Gears, you got Dead Rising, you got Halo 3 in 2007. Like, you had a pretty strong launch-to-launch window, I would say. And 100%. Then when Call of Duty 4 came out and they realized what they had, it was over.
Yeah. And again, I don't think it can be understated how there's a reason why I think Sony and Xbox have both agreed to launch their consoles at the same time. Since then, within like the same month.
Nintendo's over there being like,
you'll get it when you get it. Oh, you wanted 2025? Don't care. 2027, buy another Switch.
I turned my Nintendo Switch on the other day as I was unpacking stuff here, and it sounded like it was taking off. Just doing a system update. Nintendo's like, you guys.
It was like, gotta get that new texture pack for the trees. You guys Scarlet.
You want Mario Brothership? Play it. Shut up.
Speaking of Nintendo, we'll just hard transition over to Nintendo.
Talk about the colossal failures and why there's such a big gap and why this was so easy to
pick the 360 over everything else?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's. I think it stands far and away above the others. Not only because the others were lackluster, like the Xbox One. The Xbox One I would consider almost as big of a failure as the Wii U. It was terrible. It wasn't nearly that bad because at least it had third-party games on it. Like it could run whatever game you wanted that was third-party. So like it's not like not only did you have a trash system in the Wii U, but you also couldn't play Call of Duty, you couldn't play Grand Theft Auto, you couldn't play this, you couldn't play that. Like you couldn't play 2K, you couldn't play sports games. Like at least the Xbox One had that. So
I remember there were a couple games because I was diehard Xbox, and then about whenever this PS3 Slim launched, which is I want to say 09 or 10, I got a PlayStation 3 Slim, and by that point,
they fixed the price point. They had games,
and
they had the backlog
because I had 2 Resistances, 2 Uncharteds, Infamous 1, and then 2 got like released right after that.
Yep,
I was eating good. And then in 11, I think I went back to Xbox for Skyrim.
On the 360?
Yeah.
Still? And the Xbox Series X, I would consider like the second best system that they've had. And I think I would base almost all of it on Game Pass. I think Game Pass is their
Got it.
model,
So
and I think
absolutely nothing to do with the system. Okay.
no, it would be the games that are included in Game
Oh,
Pass.
so
Like I
does
think
that mean Amazon Fire Stick 4K Extreme is also as good as Series X because you can get Game Pass on there?
no, but I'm almost considering the Series X a Game Pass machine. And I think it is the transition of Xbox into games as a service, and I think it'll go down as a very important key Xbox in Xbox's history.
Just remember that. Just remember the words will go down as a key thing in blank history. Just remember
Yeah,
that you said
good or
that.
bad, good or
Just,
bad
I
is up
need
for
you
debate.
to understand that I'm accepting your answer as your best friend. Okay? I'm giving you the grace to have your opinion, and that
And
one
then
day, very
the
soon, in about 12 minutes, I may expect the same grace given. So just hold that one in your little heart-shaped pocket here, pal.
And then the Xbox itself was just fine. Like I think it wasn't bad. Like it wasn't bad. It did well enough for Microsoft to be like, okay, let's do another one.
Well, Halo did well enough. Nothing else did well enough. Doom 3, despite being an Xbox.
Stop it. Blinks?
Nintendo.
Fable? Stop. It was fine.
What's
the
Joanna
Xbox
Dark's
was
first
fine.
Name?
You just said Joanna Dark.
I thought I was going to catch it quick.
No.
That will go down as one of the best moments on this show.
I still don't care what her first name is. Could not care less.
You acted as if you had been that she had donated you life-saving marrow. And
I bet you that if you look back on my N64, not even Xbox, and look time played on any game on that Xbox, you would get number 1 Super Smash
Pokemon
Bros.
Stadium.
Oh. No, Smash Bros. Number 2 Perfect Dark. Easily.
Yeah, Mike was all Team Joanna.
No.
Dark.
Easily then GoldenEye because of the pause music.
Because that was the same game, basically.
Yeah, but just a little bit better. But then we go to Nintendo. Bobby, thoughts? We're taking the DS out because the DS is an easy smokes everything. It's by far their most successful thing. They realized that they didn't need to put out a legitimate system. They could just give you a handheld with Pokemon on it, and you'd be like, all right, bet.
I know what you're going to say.
Because we've recorded this before because you have a Mac and we had to scrap the episode.
No, it's actually my mic.
Mac, got it. You're mispronouncing the middle letter there. Yeah, like you're saying I instead of A. It's a weird lisp that you have.
I will stick to my original answer and say that, in my opinion,
it was. I honestly don't remember.
It's SNES.
Okay, because I think you had said something else last time.
It's SNES because I think that it is the most quintessential, perfect version of the classic version, Star, of their tentpole franchises. 2D Metroid does not get more perfect than Super Metroid. Top-down Zelda does not get more perfect than Link to the Past. Super Mario World, is the best 2D Mario game.
I would also say that if you look at the SNES,
plus I think Turtles.
Yes, there is a huge subset of Nintendo fans that would say that each of those games that you just listed are the best iteration of those franchises.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I contend that Link to the Past is the best Zelda.
But that's not a wild take. Like, that's not an unheard of take that is the best Zelda. It is definitely like it is. If you were debating the best Zelda game, it is in contention at least for top 5 at least.
Here is what I'm going to say next, and a lot of people, the scalpers, are going to come after me. Every version of their tentpole franchises after that was a party trick. Ocarina of Time, it was a 3D game that they happened to make a Zelda game. Because they made the same game with Mario 64. It's instead of Link, it's Mario. Instead of a sword, he can grab his tail.
I think you're off the mark. I get what you're saying, that like those two games they're made on the same engine, it looks like, and like they are both 3D, like their first adventure into 3D. But I just think that is a sign of the times and not like they switched to 3D. Like that's what they did.
I stand steadfast that SNES is the best Nintendo console. Not the best selling, the most rock solid, other than, and your answer is.
So we're gonna get to mine, which I will explain why the Switch is, but I want to point out what neither one of us brought up. GameCube. And I think my personal favorite of the Nintendo systems, like if I had to pick one that I would play and I couldn't play any Nintendo games on anything but these consoles, I would pick either the N64 or the GameCube. I played them the most. They were my entry into like the Nintendo game. They were the first ones that I had at my house. They were awesome. Kinda. Commercially, they were both massive flops.
GameCube was a total failure.
And so was the N64 was
that. People they were selling GameCubes for $100.
That's what I'm saying. Like it was like, I feel like the N64 and the GameCube both get rose-colored glasses on their like goodness as a console. Like I think going back, Nintendo might be happy with it because it eventually led to this and it did make their games more popular. But like the sales numbers for those two systems, they are not happy with. They wish were better.
And I agree. And again, the reason I pick SNES is because it's the last time that they were game first, then gimmick. Everything after that was gimmick first, then game. N64, you had a middle piece to your controller. GameCube, you had a weird controller. It had a handle. Also, you had these little, toaster waffle discs. Wii, the gimmick was motion. Wii U, the gimmick was bankruptcy. Switch, that was good. Listen, I practiced that one in the mirror.
It's portable. So I agree with you. I do think that the SNES was the last thing that took away, like it. My thing is like I think they saw with each of their titles that came out of the SNES that like we have it. People love Mario. People love Zelda. People love Metroid. All of their big franchises were on that console. And had major Mario games on that console. And they were just like, it's wild that like that year, they're like, we never have to do anything else ever again. And they stuck with that. And from there, we saw gimmick after gimmick after gimmick after gimmick after gimmick while they slowly started losing the arms race in the console graphics and experience. And they were just like, why do I need to blow you away with 4K resolution when you can just, like, there's a new Pokemon. Like, Charizard's back, boys.
Yes,
like,
he's back.
Do you see him? Do you not see the Charmander, the Charmeleon, and then the Charizard? Like, it's a Charizard, but it's $70. Give me that's it. That's the end of the conversation. So mine is going to be the Switch.
Figures.
The best console, I think, for the Nintendo is the Switch. And I think similar to the way that I associate Xbox with Game Pass now, you now associate Nintendo with handhelds. And you did that with the DS and you did that with the DSi and the 3DS and whatever. But now it's their only thing. Mm-hmm. They decided that they had such a cornerstone on that market and that they knew that they would beat anybody at it, that they were like, nope, we're going full handheld. We are going, if our console is the handheld, we're not selling two anymore. We're not separating the games. We're not making like handheld exclusives, console exclusives. It's all the same thing. If you want to play it on console, dock it. If you don't, pull it up. That was the end of it.
Shut up.
And I think this is where, and this is a bold prediction.
Oh, yeah. I know
next generation, is going to be prime Nintendo. I think they have caught their gimmick. They understand what their game plan is, and they're no longer iterating anymore. They're no longer trying to change or adapt. They are like, we figured it out. We have the IP. We have the way we want them to experience games. Double down on everything. And I see that in, I think 3 months ago, Game Freak increased their staff by 30%, which is unheard of.
Well, I mean, at Game Freak, the people they hired are like sacrificial interns. Like, the Game Freak has so much money.
But they're historically understaffed. Their games are underdeveloped, and they are constantly on a time crunch. They increased their headcount by 30%, all technical. None of them were like QA. None of them were like corporate operations positions. They were all technical game development. They are doubling and tripling down on making sure that this console produces banger hits, because I think they felt the feedback from Scarlet and Violet.
Fair enough. I mean, we'll see with the next Pokemon.
Listen.
You know what else we'll see, Matt? I'm just getting a Google alert here. Breaking live.
Yep.
James Earl Jones just died. Rip in peace.
I saw that.
Darth Vader.
Rip in peace, Darth Vader. And the dude from Sandlot.
And Mufasa. PlayStation.
Do you want me to go first so you could do your whole song and dance? Because I have a feeling you're going to give me a full life cycle from day one of Sony all the way to PlayStation 5 and be like how they both peaked at each console but then got better somehow at the same time.
No. I mean, that is true. But I think
everything you say is true, but
the best. Are you sitting down? Because I had to think long and hard about this one, and you're not expecting it.
If you say PS3, I'm gonna hang up the phone.
PS4 Pro is the best PlayStation console because it is the best way to play the best library of PlayStation games, and proved on the eve of possibly another Pro announcement.
Let us know in the comments below. Do you think they're announcing the Pro is going to be released this year or
December
next
6th.
year?
December 6th, calling it right now.
Let us know in the comments below.
I don't even know what day of the week December 6th is.
Let us know in the comments below.
December 6th. You heard it here first. PlayStation 4 Pro is the best PlayStation console because it is the ultimate version, much like SNES is the quintessential way to play certain series. PlayStation 4 Pro, building upon PS4, which was already so great in the terms of the forever library, right? Like, it didn't solve backwards compatibility on the disc, but it established the common denominator of the store.
Yep.
Couldn't get, it was the 1440, and then what was it? They said, it's checkerboarded 4K. Did you ever know what that meant? Because I didn't, and I don't think they did as well. But this was 4K, and it was the best way to play the swan song games of Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. PlayStation 4 Pro is the best PlayStation console.
So Bobby took my response from the last video because I had said that it was the PlayStation 4. And basically all he said was, oh yeah, the one that came out later that was better graphically.
Oh, so better. Got it. Okay, I just needed to hear that.
Listen, I considered the PS4 Pro and the PlayStation the same.
Top rope.
The same.
They're not.
Sure.
One looks like a spaceship, and the other one looks like two ice cream sandwiches on top of each other.
So the PlayStation 4, and the reason I'm going to lump in also just the regular PlayStation 4 and not just the Pro.
Not okay.
Is because the PlayStation 4 gave
You're
you
lying.
either new IP that have carried the Sony franchise for the last couple of years, or complete revisions of massive Sony IP that were perfected in the PlayStation 4 that they are now just doubling down on and making sequels to in the PS5. So, for example, God of War 2018, PS4. Completely different than the predecessors of the God of War series, completely reinvented the series, and most would argue that they are the better versions of God of War. You get The Last of Us 1 and 2, or you get the better version of 1 and then 2. Then you get Horizon, you get Ghost of Tsushima, and you get some other games that I'll never play, like Bloodborne. What was Bloodborne on? Was that PS4? You get Bloodborne. Potentially,
arguably should have been Game of the Year 2015.
And what one instead? Inquisition? Or was that 14?
Witcher. That was the Witcher year 15.
Yeah, I'll take Witcher over Bloodborne any day. But to Bobby's point and my previous point, it was the peak of all PlayStation IP was derived at some point from the PS4, and they have continued on that trend since then. It was also when they had not only the best of their own product, they were not adventuring into places they didn't belong. They weren't pushing out live service games that either get canceled or pulled as soon as they get delivered. They weren't buying massive amounts of studios that they had no idea what they were going to do with. They were very tactful and very precise with what they were buying. And they didn't give a shit about anybody else. They didn't give a shit about a Game Pass where they're trying to push PlayStation Now, and they're trying to look at those numbers and see what subscription numbers they're getting. They were like, we're Sony, we're a PS4, we have the better system. Oh, and also they wiped the floor with Xbox. So much so
that you have a PS4, Matthew?
Yes.
Good.
No, I didn't. I owned a PS3. Yeah. They wiped the floor with Xbox so much for that generation that Phil Spencer has since gone on actual interviews and said that they've already lost the console war and it is no longer worth fighting.
Yeah, when Last of Us 2 came out, Phil Spencer in an internal leak memo said that they had nothing even close to this good.
And
and he was right, and still is.
The fact that was a rumor and that you admitted that you lost makes the PS4 Pro or not, because I don't think without I don't think if we didn't get the Pro, all of a sudden Xbox would have stole back the console war, or we would have had any negative about the PlayStation 4.
Xbox was Patrick with, the board nailed to his head.
Yep. It was done. It was done that generation.
It was terrible over there.
But
so are we in more or less compliance here, Matthew, for the good people at home?
Yeah, I honestly, listen, when I pitched this episode to Bobby, I want everyone to know that he said SNES, so he stayed consistent. Or no. Yeah, because I tried to say
DS originally, and then you said
yeah. SNES, Xbox 360, and he has gone on to change his PlayStation take to each of the individual consoles at one time or another, except for the PlayStation 3.
Well, tune in next week, boys and girls, frogs and squirrels, because
remember, as always, happy gaming. Are you done?